That is actually part of the reason why it's pure projection when like when someone like Anna says like Hasan is a slave to his audience, or Epstein, sex Pestiny, Hasan is audience captured. Hasan is audience captured. When they say stuff like this, it's actually projection.
Right.
And I have a specific example of someone that worked here that has said something very similar to her.
Oh, interesting. Okay, it can't be your nephew because he has no self-awareness. But anyway, let me continue with the rest of her statement.
Like, oh, I don't like that, you know, he left the Young Turks and was able to reach levels of success on his own. It's not about that, right? It's not about that. It's actually because that person is like audience captured, and that's the reason why he's advocating for the things that he's advocating for. He must not simply believe the things that he's saying. Like,
So, it looks like Anna Kasparian feels sorry for Hasan because he is a slave to his audience. I gotta say, they really don't seem to like each other very much. But honestly, Anna Kasparian has a good point with this one. Alright, here's a quick TLDR on the situation. A contributor for the Young Turks, Francesca, did what Anna describes as a hatchet job on Chank, sparking Anna Kasparian to call her out, as well as other people that have worked for the network, and exploited it for clout to build their own careers and brand, which provoked a person on Twitter to say, "At least she's doing work. Weren't you also jealous of Hasan?" Well, Anna Kasparian didn't like that comment very much and ended up responding saying, "Hasan is a slave to his audience. I've never seen a man more terrified of people who watch his streams. I would never be jealous of that." Which honestly is a pretty fair statement. If you've ever watched Hasan beyond a clip chimp or two, you will quickly notice Hasan is actually terrified of his audience. Sure, he'll yell at the odd person that disagrees with him every now and then, but when the majority start to have an opinion that's slightly different than his, you will see exactly what she's talking about. Anyway, I guess Hasan got word of this small comment on Twitter and decided to have a rant about it on stream. Check this out.
how do you deal with like the sickening feeling that accompanies all this, especially with Palestine? Chatters, I've told you this already. Being a leftist is being on the right side of history, being correct but too early, and also constantly getting yelled at, constantly engaging in constantly talking about things that are directly at odds with the powers that with the pre-existing hierarchy. You're gonna lose a lot. Okay, that's it. You're gonna lose a lot, so get ready for it. But just, you know, as long as you know that your moral compass is correct and you don't lose yourself to the whims of I don't know, wanting a tiny bit of victory in the short term, you just have to keep putting your best foot forward with the knowledge that you're doing the right thing and you're doing right by others. That's it. Like Jank and Anna lol. I mean, I've talked about this a lot. Reactionary thought is alluring. So when you start training your brain to believe things from a reactionary point of view, you start basically it's the opposite of muscle training, right? If you don't actually constantly work out, you're inevitably going to become a weaker person. Your muscles are going to go away and then maybe even be replaced with fat. Okay? That's how I feel about critical thinking. If you engage in critical thinking and you constantly do it and you apply it all the time, okay, you cause that muscle not to atrophy. Reactionary thinking, on the other hand, is atrophy, and it slowly creeps in.
Is Hasan seriously trying to act like Anna and Chank are reactionary, but he isn't? Ah, yes. Hasan is quite known for his stoicism and his well thought out political commentary. Bro, Essentially, all you do is reactionary garbage. In fact, you have literally built your career off of doing that. Trying to deny this or sidestep that is just not gonna happen, dude. If you actually think you aren't reactionary, then you're just insane. You literally learned your playbook from working at the network, dude. If you looked up reactionary in the dictionary, your picture would be right there, Hasan.
A freeze that it meant for the tariffs for Canada and Mexico.
There are a lot of people who act like they're doing the world a favor by publicly espousing progressive politics, but the moment it affects them personally, they go full-blown reactionary because they now actually address their own biases. They just said everything you wanted them to say. Yeah, and I think that is actually part of the reason why it's pure projection when like Anna or other people will say like Hasan is totally captive. He's a slave to his audience. Am I radicalizing my audience because I'm a, socialist who loves undermining American empire by doing acts of terror, and I'm actually radicalizing my audience? Or is it actually that I'm a captive to my audience? I'm a slave to my audience, and I have to portray my point of view? Maybe it's neither of those things. Maybe these are genuine opinions that I hold, and I'm uncompromising and routinely yell at my own audience all the time when they say some silly shit. When someone like Anna says like Hasan is a slave to his audience, or Destiny used to say this all the time too, Epstiny, Sex Pestiny, Hasan is audience captured. Hasan is audience captured. When they say stuff like this, it's actually projection. It's no different than saying you're virtue signaling, right?
Hasan, dude, they aren't mutually exclusive. You are completely capable of being a slave to your audience and still radicalizing them. You can even yell at them all the time and still be those things. I know this because you do this day in, day out, all the time. But isn't it funny how Hasan always seems to attach criticism to Destiny? It's just over and over again, and ever since the whole sex pest thing came out, like he's just doubling down and tripling down on it, especially when he gets criticized. It's like his go-to get out of jail free card or something. I mean, come on, think about it. Destiny is clearly living in this guy's head rent-free. But anyway, let me break this down for you. When a majority of your community has a serious disagreement with something you say, you obfuscate or try to change what you're saying to align with them. And when a single person goes astray, you roast them in front of chat. And as far as you radicalizing your audience, when you try to normalize a Houthi pirate or say America deserved 9/11 or some absurd shit, what do you think happens, dude? You are inching them down the road of your absurd line of thinking. If you don't think that's radicalizing someone, then I think you just don't understand what that means. So yes, Hasan, you are audience captured. You are a slave to your audience, and you are radicalizing them.
You're coming to the conclusion that the values that I'm espousing are virtuous, but I simply cannot truly mean it. I must be doing it for some cynical reason. Because if you were in that similar predicament, you'd be doing it for a cynical reason. As a matter of fact, maybe you are actually advocating for the things that you're advocating for some cynical reason right now. That's all this is. Okay? And I think for a lot of people, it truly stems from personal vendettas. It stems from personal insecurities. And I think people, maybe I'm like a little too autistic. Okay? But for me, I care about your output more than the personal back and forth that we have. There are plenty of content creators who have treated me not so great. And I'm always going to be gracious until it gets to a point where they're just like so overtly hostile that they are deliberately playing the role. Anyway, my point was that for me, I think a lot of people that end up trying to make these arguments about how like Hasan is bad for politics and he's radicalizing his audience, yada yada yada. I think a lot of those people actually unironically are coming at this argument from a place of not like a political disagreement, but they're coming at this argument from a place where they have disagreements over something else, maybe jealousy, maybe envy, maybe anger, right? Or resentment over something. But then they try to turn this into a political disagreement because everyone wants to moralize their consumption. Like, oh, I don't like that, he left the Young Turks and was able to reach levels of success on his own. It's not about that, right? It's not about that. It's actually because that person is like audience captured and that's the reason why he's advocating for the things that he's advocating for. He must not simply believe the things that he's saying. Like all of this stuff is just personal perspectives masquerading as a political disagreement. And as long as there is no real massive political disagreement, I will usually just like let it slide. I don't give a shit.
Wait, you have a criticism of me? Sheesh, you must be jealous of how rich and successful I am. Bro, get over yourself. You literally have a dad that worked for a multi-billion-dollar corporation. You had grandparents that bought multi-million-dollar real estate properties, and you have an uncle that runs a media organization. Shut your nepo baby ass up, dude. Nobody wants to be lectured by someone that has virtually been handed everything in their life. These weird mental gymnastics that you're doing are not coming off the way you think they do. You think you're coming off like someone that's providing some sort of insightful commentary and breaking down the internal thinking of people you disagree with, when in reality, it comes off like a spoiled teenage girl trying to rationalize to her parents that she has done nothing wrong. It really hurts listening to some spoiled commie try to tell you that they are successful off their own merit when everyone knows that isn't true. Anna has had her problems, sure, but she's called Hasan out for being a nepo baby multiple times, and to say that she isn't spitting facts while doing so is just wrong.
But here's what Hawk had to say about nepotism giving her an upper hand in her acting career. There are so many people who deserve to have this kind of life who don't, but I think I'm comfortable with not deserving it and doing it anyway. And I know that my not doing it wouldn't help anyone.
I totally agree, not just with the first half, which is the main reason we're doing the story, but with the last sentence too. Like, okay, if I just didn't become an actress, how does that help anyone? Yeah, does she have to do basket weaving? No, you could be an actress. So I totally agree.
Yeah, I do have a specific example that kind of counters what she said there, even though I agree with what she's saying, right?
And I have a specific example of someone that worked here that has said something very similar to her.
Oh, interesting. Okay, it can't be your nephew because he has no self-awareness. But anyway, let me continue with the rest of her statement. I saw two paths.
No self-awareness indeed. Hasan needs to stop acting like he made himself. He was made by his family and the people that association allowed him to have. Hasan did not start from the bottom. He really needs to stop trying to act like he relates to like homeless people and it just comes off as some weird normie lark. It just does not come off as genuine. It comes off as cringe and pretentious. Anna's criticism is 100% valid and anyone with a brain could see it. While I definitely wouldn't call myself like an Anna Kasparian fan or something, she has clearly had some pretty decent takes over the past couple years, like ever since the Rittenhouse situation. And people have been trying to say that it's just a marketing move by TYT to try to capture MAGA viewers. But I'm not so sure, to be honest. I imagine working your entire life in left-wing media, you probably see a lot of things that need to be called out. She probably just ended up snapping and was tired of holding her tongue on the problems with the left. Who knows? What do you guys think? Is she genuine? Because I know if I had to work with this guy that was handed everything and used the network to suck away clout for himself and turned that into a career, brainwashing young lefties on Twitch and making millions while doing it, all while he already came from a rich family, I would be irritated as well. but her irritation doesn't make her criticisms of Hasan less valid. Okay, I think that's enough of that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Alright guys, I said my bit. I hope you guys liked the video, and if you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And if you want to watch more content like this, YouTube thinks you're gonna like this video right here.